Morning. Today's Shiur is in Rambam Hilchis Bias Migdosh Periktes Halacha Vav. The Rambam is a very famous statement of the Rambam. That's what Halacha many times. Shechita. The Rambam uses the following English: Shechita Sakochim Ksheira Bazar. That the Shechita of Kachim is kosher with even the non-kohen. And the Rambam goes on to list what kind of Kachim we're talking about. Vili Kache Kadishim, even holy of holy, Shechita, Asham, and so forth. Bein Kache Yochid, Bein Kache Tzibur. Doesn't matter. Private, public. Zar is kosher. And he brings the pasuk for it. Shenema v'shachat has been a buckle of Hashem. The kriva even Aaron, and Aaron should bring it. The Kabbalah ve'elech mitzvahs kahuna. The mitzvah of kahuna starts in Kabbalah ve'elech, from Kabbalah on. Then he goes on to a separate halacha, which we will leave for now. Okay, now in Hilchis, so if somebody reading this halacha would probably come to the conclusion that it's okay to do Shechita with a zar. It's ksheira. Is it preferable? No indication. Should it be done? No indication. Is it lechatchila? Yeah, no indication. However, in Hilchis Psulei Hamikdoshim, Perik Aleph Halacha Aleph, the Rambam writes, Kol Apsulam La'aveda, Mutarim Lishchet Kachim Lechatchila. Afilu Kachim Kadishim. All Psulei Aveda, which means that they're considered a zar. A mutter. There it says Lashon mutter. Okay, could say you're not talking about a zar, he's talking about just a kohen that's puzzled. Chutz minatame, that he says he shouldn't do it. L'chatchila. Okay, so we know zar, ksheira, psulim laveda mutarim. But there shouldn't be a difference between them. If they're not the kohen, they're not the kohen. Okay. Hilchis Tmidim and Mesaf. We find a outlier of a halacha which causes a lot of problems, and that is amongst the Mefresh. We know that in the Beis Hamikdash there were various lotteries on a daily basis. And there was a system, we're not going to get into that right now, we don't have the time. The second lottery, there was a second person who won the lottery. I'll say Damidas. In other words, as you go around, the winner gets the first, then from there on in, the second group. So the second group of winners is 13 people. And you go straight in order of the way they were standing. And there goes the interesting thing. The one who came out first out of that group of 13, what does he do? Wait. Why? Why we need it for? We got a whole world waiting to do it. Why is he zeichen anything? Okay, we'll get to that. So let's note a few things. Why does he write, as we said, ksheira and not mutarin? Okay, now there's a beautiful story in the Gemara Brachas related to the halacha of Shechita ksheira. Gemara Brachas, Daf Lamed Aleph on the base, tells the story that that Eli almost killed Shmuel because he paskined the halacha lifnei Rabbi. What was the halacha? Eli said that they were going to shech the par, and they shechted the par, and they brought the child to Eli. So you might ask, what is one of the other? Because they shechted the par, they bring the child to Eli. What does Eli have to do with the child? What does the child have to do with the par? So you might say the story. When they wanted to shech the par, Amal lahem Eli kiru kohen. Get a kohen to shech this par. Lazy Milishke. They were looking, they couldn't find the kohen ready. So Shmuel saw that they were chasing after a kohen. I was like, why? A kohen doesn't need a shech. The Shechita share of his art. So he brought him in front of Eli. How do you know that? The pasuk, Shachat. Oh, Eli said, good to gesagt. He said very nicely. But he paskined in front of your teacher, and Yechai Misa came Chana and screamed, I begged for this child. How are you killing him now? So he said, no, I'll kill him, and I'll give you another one, better than him. He says, no. This is the kid I wanted. How could it be that something as common and knowledgeable to almost any person who ever learns anything, that from the days of Moshe till now, till the time of Eli, there were always karbanas? How did he forget that a kohen is mutter to shech? How did he make such a mistake? A lot of impression struggle with this issue to understand what went on over there. Another Gemara, and a really interesting issue. In Masechtas Yivamis, Daf Lamed Beis Amud Beis, state Zar Sheshimish B'Shabbos, a zar that did a malacha in the Beis Hamikdash on Shabbos. Now, what he was doing, Avodah Kavanas and Yidam Malacha. Chayiv Shtayim. It's chayiv for two affairs. One, what he did, and that he was over in the Beis Hamikdash. V'kapara meina chayiv elachas. No, it's only chayiv one. They're going to that whole discussion what the machlekes is. So Rabbi says Shabbos was also for everybody. When it became mutter b'mikdash, it only became mutter for kahanim. Not for Zar. In other words, according to Bar Kapara, once Mikdash was mutter of Halacha, it's mutter even, and then Zarus also became mutter. Then even a Zar is not over the Malach. Now listen to this question. The Aruch HaShulchan HaOsid asked in Hilchas Bias Mikdash Shemim Chasif Yud as a Shaila, in this Tapakti. Azar is a lot of shecht on Shabbos, but it's a mloch in shecht. If Azar is mutter to shecht, the carbon, Talmud, and Shabbos, and the Mikdash, it's also talking about Hefsher the herb, which is also mutter for Azar. Do we say the dafke lekehanim shaleim utla avedas hamikdash itira teir la'akav Shabbos leil Azar? I don't. Even that Torah Malach of Mikdash Azorim Shei are they like Kahanim or not? So he concludes that no, if Azar shechts on Shabbos in the Mikdash, he's chayav skill. Now I don't know. And he brings a right for the Gemara. Since the Gemara used the lashon Shabbos like Chayil Nesra. And when it was Hut in the Mikdash, it was only Kahanim, not Lazarim. So there's Hamut. I mean, he has a good point. I'm not sure that's correct. We'll as we go through the Indian, we may have a logical way to understand that it's not so. Okay. I'm going to skip a piece over here because no, I don't know if I could skip. All right, let's go. So the Gemara Bekama talks about damagers, people who damage other people's properties. And the Gemara talks about a mefagel. And the Gemara says, why didn't our Mishnah why didn't Rabbi mention the mefagel? So Rashi says, Rashi translates, mefagel, because the Kachin Lekamai. Listen to the words of Rashi. Mefagel, koyin, sheshachat, karbona shel Yisrael, chatas l'shum shlamim, if he shechted a carbon of a Jew, and the halacha they do it, carbon chatas. And he thought it was, he said, I'm shechting this as a shlamim. So the carbon is no good for the bailam. It's not possible. Ain't a carbon bailam. So bring another carbon. Going to pay him. Correct, the Shechita Kebetza, Shechita Daksher Bizarre. So why does he say Yisrael Shapigel? That's a good question. Well, why Rashi specify? So he says, Avart, Shechita Kebetza, that it's not common, or it's almost impossible for that to happen. Because the only Yisrael that shechts a carbon is the bailam. You don't just get a Jew. You know, somebody has a friend, who's a sheikhet or some holy Jew. He's going to go ask him to shech. No, doesn't do that. So into the bailam, you can't tell him he's got to pay himself. So he doesn't seem to say that you have. It could be kohen, it could be Yisrael, but usually it's either kohen or bailam. And Rashi called, they took the more common. I just want to mention that there's a cheshik shleimim menachas. Again, I'm going into the there's a limud there, ma'asmicha bezar, ma'ashchita bezar. So they might ask him ma'asmicha bailam, ma'ashchita bailam. So he says, no, you don't have to, because you don't need bailam by a carbon to do the So the Gemara there learns the heter of bailam from the heter of zar from smicha to shechita. So zog the cheshek shleim and mikol magatchila mitzvasei bebailam. The iskish l'smicha. And he brings the Gemara Psachim. So where is that? Where is that? Pastor got some Michael name. So Rashi says, "I'm bailing the staff of the Siva Samach Yoder Shabbat." They're the ones doing it. Another ayah, Scalim. As a Sakainim Kadesh, man, Shein Yisrael Nechnas Moshan El Rishas Achayim Smicha Ulashchita L'Tnova, and Gra and Eliyahu Rabbi on the Mishnah says. So we have opinion here that says not only is it common to do b'baylam, but the mitzvah is b'baylam, and it sounds even preferably b'baylam. Yeah. Taisus in Kedushin, again, I'm going to go into the details, says the following, that even though Shechita is terim but noshim avodim, that's for the Yavelat, chilili of the Kiyim ksherim miyuchas. Shechita was done by people who had a very, very strong yichus. Fred Ibn Yeshua argues on him. So he says that is mutter, but this is the way it was done. Otherwise, they Kahanim were marked to make sure that the people who do it should be chassid. Okay, so according to this opinion, Azar can shech kabbanis, the Kahanim were marked that should be ksherim, Kahanim chassid. That's it. Only ones who can do it are kehanim yichus, and therefore you can build your yichus through seeing a guy shecht. Okay, then we have the problem with the pious, right? Why did the pious? We said, why is the kohen doing the shechita? So that's why I asked the question. Even though shechita is bizarre, mitzvah b'kohen lechatchila. That's talking about tumah, the Gemara that he mentions as well. But you don't find that. The Meiri writes, you still do bias, because Ratchila, you need the Kohen and the Karmat Tamid. Even though all the other, he says the difference between Karmat Tamid and other components. The Tamid needs the Kohen and not. The Rav, the Bartanura, in beginning of Tamid says, the Tchilas Avedas HaTamidi V'Chaviva Lahu, because it's very, very precious. And they're going to fight for it. The Rambam writes, Shechita Ksher B'Zara, Filukotchi Kotchim, Ben Yochid, Ben Sibur, it doesn't matter. They know why did they make a pious? Okay, could be it was just a practical thing, but you know. Now, interesting. The Gemara Yuma clearly allows for the option for a zar to be sheikh in the tamid. Gemara asks Shaila, mi mekabel, sheikh mekabel, or zayrik mekabel. The Kabbalah is in between the shechita and the zrika. So who does it? And one of the reasons why maybe the zayrik should do it because the sheikh could be a zar. We'll see soon. There's an opinion that it can't be a kohen. We'll get to that soon. Okay. I want to just there's the Yavitz, Shuv and Shilas Yavitz, a long arichas about this, and he comes out and he wants to say that l'chatchila got to be a kohen, and the Perlstein from the beer under the sag, he says also l'chatchila there needs to be a kohen by Talmud and the Karban Sibur. Again, I don't see how that fits the Rambam. And ve'ein machshir and Shechitas hazor ela b'di'evad. That's where he understands the Meiri. But other kabbanas, if you don't have a carbon, or you don't have a kohen, go ahead and take somebody else. All right, there's a lot of makayres that mashal the bahag, and many of the mamoinei hamitzvahs bring that shchitas kotchim in one of the mitzvahs of the kahanim, under the heading of kahanim. You see that a kohen is b'choyer. And he writes, the kahanim's reason l'kayim mitzvasam v'layanichu zarim levatlam mitzvasam. And they're not going to let it, because the mitzvah belongs to kahanim. So again, if it's kosher, why? What's all this about? So we mentioned before that there are two Yalfusas. The Gemara in Zvach. Let's take the Gemara. This is very important. Gemara in Zvach of Daf Lamed Beis. Shochat Shechita b'zar ksheir shashchita ksheir b'zar nothing. And then the Gemara says, no, maybe it's only Kehanim. Well, why? It doesn't say Kehanim by Shechita. Because it says a pasuk, "Va'ate uvanecha itoch tishmeru es kahunaschem l'chol v'amas be'ah." You need to guard the kahuna for all of the inyanim mizbeah. So we would think Shechita also. So I got to learn how to pasuk, not like that. Please ask the question: what do you need that for? There's a hekesh of smicha de Shechita. He says no. That if this drasha, we would be mamayit Shechita because it says Tishmeru es kunaschem. So let's start with the question: Who cares where you learn it from? I have come in. Why here? What's the gay over here? And the same thing would be there's a pasuk. So of Tishmas can ask him. So you got to reconcile the two. Okay, so I want to suggest that Taisus is telling us a big say. Perhaps that's shot in this whole sugya, and this is the Rambam, and give us a new approach to this idea. There are two dinim. There's a din of Tishmus Kunaschem, guarding, being in charge, being responsible. And then there is the actual doing. Now, what Taisus is saying is that learning from Tishmas Kunaschem and from the Shachat is not a contradiction. Kabbalah ve'elech, it doesn't say Kabbalah ve'elech. What was it? Mitzvah skuna. That's the lashon, right? That's not a steer to Tishmas Kunaschem. Mitzvah kuhuna is only mekabala ve'elech, but kuhuna is required before. In the Shechita there is a din, but it's not mitzvah kuhuna. What do I mean to say? The Rambam in Ilchus Ma'aseh Kabbanis says, "Kol hazvochem tzorich ha'oived shetiya machshavte l'shem hazevach." He gives all things you got to think. The oived, the one who's doing the avodah, has to think that it's in it. When b'shazvicha kabal zadam elachas dam zrika. So, obvious question: how do you call a sheichet an oived? It's not avodah. Shechita lavaveda. Teretz says it's not an avodah, but you're an oived. You're just like the zayrik. And the pshat is as follows: there's a din of Tishmas Kunaschem even on Shechita. The kohen is achrei. And that's, I mean, but he can allow a Yisrael to do the ma'aser, but it's a kohen's responsibility, and that's what makes him an oived, because he's working under the guidance of the guy. I don't know if he's I don't know how far it has to go, but the others, they're the ones that have to tell you, yes, go ahead, it's under our domain. So the achrayim to the Shechita is on the kohen. But they have the right to give it to allow a Yisrael. We learn from the Perokim. So that's Tishmas Kunaschem. Yes, the whole farm is meya. The mitzvah kuhuna is only mikabala ve'elech, and that's only part of the garment. That fits what the Rishonim say that the animal left because they're in charge. Where if you learn it from smicha, and there it says clearly, no, that it's a bailam to get in, or it's a din in the Yisrael b'chlal. And that's not mitzvah kuna. That's a whole different word. So when the Gemara says Shabbos Hakoil Nesher Kishahutra Migdash L'Kahanim Hutra V'Leila Zarim, it doesn't mean that a zar can't shech, because it also falls under the Hutra L'Kahanim, because everything is the kohen's work, the kohen's responsibility. Just not mitzvah's kohen. And therefore, it's not muchach what the Archashochem Paskim is on the we'll find out when Mashiach comes, that a zar can't shech the Shabbos. And that's why he writes Shechita Sakochim Ksheira B'Zarim, because he wants to stress that it's under somebody else's avodah. It's Shmira Sakuhuna comes from the kohen. It's not a new concept that a zor can just walk in and do. And therefore, the Rambam doesn't bring anything about Bailam because it's nothing to do with Bailam. Why you need a pious for Shechita Zatamid? Because who is in charge? Which kohen is in charge? It's part of his shmira. Who's he going to give it to? could be the Bahag who holds that it's part of mitzvahs kahuna, because he takes it to the extreme and says that the only Yisrael is a lot of shech because he's in place of the kohen. Ulai, this is what happened between Eli and Shmuel. They knew that that a Azor is, but he held the Chatchila Dafin HaKayin because it's Tishmas Kenaschem. And if you can get a Kayin, it's the best. And Shmuel holds that that a Yisrael is accomplishes that Hidur of a Kayin. Sure, is a Hidur of a Kayin, but the Shailah of the Yisrael also good for a Hidur of a Kayin. I just want to note that the Zohar says that it says Shachat ben Abaka, Shachat Acharov, Lav Kahana. Somebody else has to shech, not a kohen. The Kahana also lebedina. Begin la yivga mahu asa the ochad bay. The kohen is not allowed to accomplish din, so he shouldn't affect the places where he's connected, which is chesed. And he asks the question, he can't do that. So the general understanding is that Shechita, Ksher Bizarre, but a Shechita of a kohen is also, that's people the way it's understood. And everybody asks, it goes against the Gemara. Yeah. The Gemara Mashman that Shechita Ksher Bizarre, the Ivitz says, it's only with the Evan. Oh, but according to what we've been saying, can the Zayar is not astir at all. Avad, it's midine kohuna. Tishmas kanascha. But the Zayar says they were makbid not to do it, so it shouldn't affect their holy connection to where they are connected to. But of course, it's under the tishmuk of kanaschem of the kohen. Thank you very much.